Good morning, Crossroads Church. I'm so glad that you're joining us. My name is Dustin Pete. I get to serve as one of the pastors here, and I'm so glad that you're joining us, whether you're in the room or online. We are glad that you are with Crossroads today and joining us for worship. We have a very special message for you, but first, I want to tell you about a couple things going on. I want to be the first to say it's October 3rd, and happy October, happy fall, happy pumpkin spice, everything. It is the time of year, and you know what that means at Crossroads? It's time for trunk or treat. And so this year, just like last year, we are going to host that at our Crossroads Carrollton location on Saturday, October the 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. And there are 4 ways that we can be involved at both of our locations. And first is this: you can just simply attend. We would love to have you out there. We'd love to have you meet our neighbors out at Crossroads Carrollton and just experience the event as itself. But we'd also maybe invite you to take a step further and participate. There's a couple different ways you can participate. Number one, you can sign up to be a waymaker at the event and help us put this event on for the community there in a way that they will always remember the love of Jesus. Secondly, you can sign up to have a trunk at the event itself, which means you're going to have your own dedicated space, your own parking spot, and you're going to design and decorate your trunk, and you're going to give out candy. Third spot, speaking of candy, to be involved is that you can donate candy at either campus starting next Sunday, October 10th through the 24th. Both locations, we will be collecting candy. If you're like, look, I can't make it, we already have plans that day, we totally get it. But if you could, at least go by the Dollar General and pick up some candy and bring it by here on a Sunday morning and drop it off in our donation area. We would love for you to be involved in that. One more announcement I want to give you today is that last Sunday you heard Pastor Greg share his heart with you about our Crossroads Church becoming a house of prayer. And so what we want to do is we want to invite you into that as much as possible. And Pastor Greg said that this Sunday, meaning today, that we were going to have an opportunity for you to be in the loop about our prayer times. Now, if you don't know, a couple weeks ago, we started prayer time before services in this room, in the auditorium, in the worship center on Sunday mornings at 8:30 before our 9 o'clock service and at 10:30 before our 11 o'clock service. And it's just time for us to come in and just cover the entire church and the entire service and the space in prayer as we prepare for what God has for us that day. We want you to be involved. Pastor Greg is asking and believing that we have 200 people in the next 2 months participating in this prayer time. And we believe in the power of prayer. We've seen it. We have seen his power in our sanctuary, and we are so excited for what he's going to do. So on the screen right now, it looks like a bunch of jumbly mess, but it's actually called a QR code. If you take out your smartphone and you hold it up to this QR code, it'll go take you directly to a link. That's a form you can fill out. It's just simple name, phone number. That's all we need. And what we're going to do with that is that we're going to put you on a text list so that we will send you a text message to remind you about the prayer times that are happening each week so that you don't forget to join us and we can come alongside you and we can all pray together. We are better together, church. And so today, one last thing, I want to invite you into an opportunity to give. We're in this series, Be Generous. We have an opportunity to give today. There's not going to be a moment where we pass plates or buckets or anything like that, but I want to invite you to the ways to give. You can see all the ways to give on screen right now. You can text, you can give here, you can give online on our website, all the different things. You can mail in a check. We want to invite you into that because God has something very special for you when you choose to be generous. And so right now we have an opportunity to hear more about that as we find ourselves in the middle of this Be Generous series. I would love for you to do me the honor and the privilege of welcoming Pastor Chris Comstock to the stage right now.
Thank y'all so much. I said it in first service, I'll say it again. I've never been doing this a long time. I've never been welcomed to the stage before, so this is a weird vibe. Hey, my name's Chris. I'm excited to be with you this morning. Everybody feeling good? Should be. If you're a Georgia fan, hopefully you're awake by now. If you're all, some of you might be watching online because you slept through it. That's fine. Good for you. Well done by Georgia actually showing up to a game. Amen. Yeah. Alabama fans are like, we do this every week. It's normal, like whatever. But just a quick word of caution to my Georgia fans. Like, just remember you're Georgia fans. So just don't put hope too high yet. Okay. You just gotta keep it real. All right. I'm just kidding. I'm excited. It was a great day of football yesterday. I loved it. Super excited about it. So I do want to address just kind of like the elephant in the room, if that's okay. A lot of people have have come up to me and had conversation with me, and so I just want to make sure I clearly just kind of lay something out for y'all. It is true, as many of you have talked to me, that I have lost a couple of pounds, upwards of 80 right now, which has been awesome. I'm not 100% sure where to shop for clothes anymore. And so if you feel like, my wife is very upset about having to buy a new wardrobe, because you gotta, like, I went from wearing a 2X to wearing like a medium, and I don't even know where that is. It's like in the kids section. I don't do, like, grown men wear that size. So if you can just, like, if you want my Cash App to help me rebuild, if not, this is the shirt you're gonna see me in for the next year. All right, that's not true. That's not true. Hey, I'm really excited. God's been good and has walked me through this journey, and it's an honor to be here with you guys this morning as well. So I want to continue the series that Greg started the last 2 weeks as we talk through Be Generous. And it's more than just a teaching series. It's really an opportunity for us to start an initiative, to do something different in our community, in our state, and around the world. It's an opportunity for us to learn to be generous. See, God has called each one of us to be generous, and that's how we are defined to the world, is through our generosity. And if there's one thing that I've learned in this course of Be Generous, it's this, that when we are generous, we are thinking of others before ourselves. We're placing the needs of others before the needs of us. And so here's what I want to do. I want to maybe draw a little bit of an illustration that'll help bring us all together. For 7 years, I had this incredible opportunity to travel kind of up and down the East Coast with my brother and a troupe of improv actors, and we would write and have, like, scripted plays or scripted skits, and we would also just do improv comedy. We attempted over the course of our time together to use comedy and humor to present the gospel. And so for 7 years, we got to go all over the place, different conferences and churches and youth groups. It was a blast, a lot of fun. The first thing that you learn when you come onto the stage, especially doing improv, is that it can't be about you. It has to be about the other person. And so if you step up trying to drop your joke or your scene or your whatever, then you'll immediately fail at what you're trying to do. It won't be funny. The laughs don't come because of you. They come because of the partnership together. And so as you do improv, you begin to, like, learn how to play off each other and how to utilize and all this. So it's a blast, a lot of fun. And so whenever we would teach it in that way. Like, are you trying to be funny, or are you trying to make the other person funny? Because if I am trying to make the other person funny and they are trying to make me funny, then at the end of the day, like, we're aiming towards the same goal. We're focused on the right thing. And when we focus on others and have a deep love for others, then we get to display what we have been called to display, which is the love of Jesus. And when people see Jesus in us, the game changes. Our world changes, our influence changes, our community changes, our circle changes. So what we have to answer this morning is, what does that look like? What does true, generous love look like? Think about the last time that you were generous towards somebody else. Like, just think about, like, maybe you were in line and you bought the person's food behind you, or you brought somebody a coffee, or you wrote somebody a card, or wrote, maybe you're the family that's cool and, like, does family pictures and sends those out on Christmas cards, and great, good for, we don't do that. I'm too late. I can't remember it's fine. Anyways, I think it's been like 5 years since you've taken family pictures. My wife hates it. It's whatever. And so I have mental pictures of my family. You know what I mean? Like, snap, there's another one. I just took one of my, it's fine. And so I see all of that, right? And I'm like, man, you're crushing. You're thinking about somebody else. I want to give somebody something else apart from me. If you're having a hard time, like, thinking about when the last time you were generous towards somebody, like, that's a good sign in your life that maybe you're not being generous. Think about the last time that somebody was generous to you. Think about the last time that your lunch got paid for, your coffee got paid for, or somebody wrote you a card, or somebody did something kind for you. And what did that evoke within you? What emotions did that bring? Like, gratitude and it made you probably want to go, I want to pay it forward. I want to do that for somebody else. A couple weeks back, we celebrated Greg's 20th year here at the church, which is incredible. And and really, I mean, I don't think you know how rare it is within churches to see a pastor stay for 20 years, to do and to stay focused on the vision. I mean, it's just incredible, and it's an honor to serve under him. And so we decided to take Greg out for lunch to celebrate 20 years. And maybe you think like you took him out for a nice steak, you did something real fancy. No. You don't know Greg Toller very well if that's where you think we took him. Greg loves some fried catfish from the Landmark Diner. And if you don't know where the Landmark Diner is, that's normal. You just get out, go on Highway 5. You'll go straight down like you're going to Dog River Library. And right at Praise Mill Baptist Church, there's a little hole-in-the-wall restaurant just says Landmark on it. That's it. You'd never know that it's food outside of it saying catfish every Tuesday and Friday, and the best fried chicken, apparently. I can't remember how wide a scope they have, but it's apparently world-famous fried chicken. So we, all of our staff, 28 or 29 of us, all drove to the Landmark Diner, and we ate lunch there, which may seem normal. But the Landmark Diner only really seats like probably 50, like 60 if you're on top of each other. And so we kind of like took it over. We just walked in, and we were like, hey, we're all here now. This is a thing we're doing, and we're going to eat all of your food. And so they had to cook extra food. I mean, it was a mess. And I realized as we're sitting there, like we are really inconveniencing everybody else that walks in this door. Maybe they walk in, they can't find a seat because we have all of them. Or maybe they walked in and they were like, well, I didn't really want to eat with them, but you got to figure it out. And so I just walked up to Greg and our financial director, Carrie, and I said, hey, I think we should just buy everybody's meal that comes in the doors. While we're here, let's just buy everybody's food. And they obviously both 100% agreed, and they agreed, and I say this because Greg's heart was never about it being a celebration for him. That's who he is as a person. And so I said, hey, I think we should just buy everybody's food. He said, yeah, let's do it. And so I did. I walked up to the lady, and I think it's a family-owned place, and I walked up to the lady that was kind of running around crazily, and I said, hey, we're going to buy everybody's food. She's like, yeah, I figured it's just one ticket. I was like, no. Like, while we're here, anybody that walks in the door or that is already sitting in here, we're buying all of their meals today. And we ended up that day purchasing 42 people's food for lunch that day, while the hour that we were there. And what's crazy is when we said, hey, we're going to buy all of this food, I wish I could tell you that lady was like, oh, you're really showing the love of Jesus today, aren't you? But her first response back was, why? Why would you do that? And I looked at her and I said, because we want to be a tangible representation of the love of Jesus to this community, and this is the way we feel like God's leading us to do it today. That's all. And that's exactly what we did. And we told them all that. And so that day we bought all of their food, and it was an incredible moment, an incredible opportunity. And I'm not saying that your calling is to go to La Salsa today and to buy everybody's food that's out there. I'll be at La Salsa today. You can buy mine, okay? You got to start. I'm joking. But here at the end of the day, it doesn't even have to be a financial thing. Generous love isn't, here's all of my money. Money doesn't buy love. Generous love is having the forethought and the thinking of somebody else above ourselves. What can I do to take care of somebody else and not myself? And when we display generous love, the love of Jesus is displayed through us. And that's what we have to get after. There's a great passage that Jesus speaks to this in Mark chapter 12. In Mark 12, he's asked, what's the most important commandment? It's a classic passage. What's the most important commandment in all of the law? What is the most important? And he says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength. And the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus knew something, that it was going to be easy to love people that are lovable. But he doesn't say that. He says you don't have to just love the people you like to be around. You're called to love your neighbor. Your neighbor who maybe plays their music too loud, or leaves their trash laying out too long, or whose kids destroy your flower bed. Like, you're called to love that person the same way that you would love somebody else. The love of God coming through you is intended for all people, not some. God didn't go, I'm going to die on a cross and only some of you. He said, I am coming to sacrifice myself for all of you. It's easy for us to love our families sometimes, right? Like our kids or our grandkids, spouses, like boyfriends and girlfriends. Like we can muster up the strength to love them when we need to, but it's a lot harder to love people that we don't think we're supposed to love. And this is why Jesus says, my love was for you, and my love through you is for all. You are the billboard for me to go out and display my love to the people that you encounter, to the people that you talk with. I love how Paul lays this out in Ephesians 2. In Ephesians 2, Paul lays out something really important. This is the big idea. Let me give you the first kind of life lesson, if you will. That God in us, this is the important piece, that God in us is the source of love. That God in us is the source of generous love. You can't muster it up. You can't, I'm just really going to love somebody today. Like it's the Spirit of God working through you that brings love. Paul says it this way, for Christ himself has brought peace to us. He united Jews and Gentiles into one people when he, in his own body on the cross, he broke down the wall of hostility that separated us. When we live understanding that God in us is the source of generous love, then we understand we're more apt to know and to see people differently, to treat people differently, to go out of our way to be generous with our time, with the things that we do, with our things, the stuff that sit in our garage. When we understand that the love that we have for other people comes from God's love for us first, it's a lot easier to love others that way. And what I love about this, it says Christ himself brought peace. Do you see that? It's not you. Christ himself brought peace. He united the Jews and the Gentiles. He had his body on the cross. He broke down the wall of hostility. See, when we begin to live understanding that God in us is the source of our generous love, we shift from a me idea to a he mentality. It becomes about him and less about us. And Paul is equally bringing out a really important piece. That in this part, at his own body, he broke down the wall of hostility. There were literal physical walls that were separating people. In the temple alone, if you were to come to church back in the day and you wanted to come in, there would have been walls for those of you that were Gentiles that you could not pass. There were walls for you that were women that you could not pass. And then there were walls that were you that were lay men that you could not pass. And then past those walls were where all of the religious priests and leaders would be, and they alone could talk to God. And Jesus said, no, that's done. When I've stepped on the scene, the walls that were hostile and separated us are gone. The division is gone. And rather, I'm tearing down the veil, I'm breaking down the walls, and we're walking together as one. He himself brought unity and love and peace and destroyed the hostility that so easily entangled us. That's what he did. So then why is it? What is it that makes us want to hate people more than love them? What is it about us that makes us want to hate somebody more than love them? Quite simply, sin. Satan knows that we are stronger together than apart. And so if he can create in our minds stereotypes and prejudices that separate us from other people, he wins. The stereotypes and the prejudices that all of us walk in with, they are not the product of anything other than Satan attempting to divide us. And when I look at it, I look at the fact that those prejudices and those stereotypes are a comfort zone for you and I. It makes us comfortable because I don't now have to understand you. I just get to separate myself from you. I don't need to know where you came from. I don't even know what you what you like. I don't have to care about your family. I don't care about any of that. Because I just get to stay within my own comfort, my own prejudice, my own stereotype. You either learn like me or you get out of my circle. You speak my language or get out of my circle. You live like me or get out of my circle. Eat like me or get out of my circle. At the point where you become different is the point where our natural prejudices and our natural stereotypes separate us from other people. And that, my friends, is the work of Satan alone. Because if he can divide us, he can conquer. The secret of unity is not in us mustering up enough love for one another. It's us tapping in to God's Spirit in us. And when we do that, we have this incredible opportunity to break down the walls that are dividing us and build bridges instead. Amen? He teaches us how to walk, how to love. He compels us to care, to understand, to know. When we walk in the power of the Spirit, that and that alone is when true community change can happen. It's not going to happen by another nonprofit popping up or another activist doing their thing. It's not going to, our country's not going to be healed because we all just kumbaya together and held hands and like, yay, look at us go. If anything, our country has shown us even when the worst possible thing could happen in our society, that we will always bend back to our comfort zone. I think back to 2001. I think back to how close our country was in 2001, rooted around a singular cause and vision and focus, and then within a matter of weeks, life went back to the way it was, and we all complained about how long it took to get through security at airports. Why? Because that moment, that wasn't an act of God bringing us together. You see, we didn't tap into the power of the Spirit and go, God, lead me to be with one another. We immediately said we have a common enemy, and now we all hate those people, right? Do you hear that word? A common enemy. Jesus speaks directly into it. I know there's people that are hard to love, and Jesus speaks right into it. In verse 35 of Luke 6, he says, love your enemies. He doesn't say mutually hate your enemies. Don't rally around and all hate one group of people. Don't rally around and hate one couple. Don't rally around and hate one person. He says, love your enemies. Do good to them. Lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great. And you will truly be acting as children of the Most High. For he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. I was just talking to somebody after first service that came out to me and said, how can I be kind to somebody who is evil towards me? And I said this, I need you to remember the example set before us. The example set before us was at the darkest hour of Jesus' life. His words were, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. He prayed over them that God would open their eyes to see who he is. He loved the people that hated him. It doesn't mean that he hung out and got coffee with them. And that's what I told this gentleman. I'm not asking you to go take him to Starbucks and have a good time. I had a great mentor, still a friend of mine. We worked together for a lot of years. And he would tell us this, I know at some point you're going to hate me because I'm a jerk. You will not change me. Only God will. So when you hate me, and you will hate me, and we did hate him, because he was as big of a jerk as he let on. We prayed for him. God, you know right now all I want to do is take this dude out. I'm going to need you to soften my heart. typically in this moment, I share an example about one of my children. When I say it's easy for us to hate people. If you know kind of my rhythm, I typically about halfway through, I'll share a story about my kids, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So my son's playing soccer this year. He's not super great, but he's figuring it out, He yesterday, he played defense, got a little distracted, He likes to talk a lot. And so people just kind of run by him. But he's getting it. Like, he really is, like, he's catching the rhythm of what he's supposed to do. In the second half, he played midfield, which apparently is just like running back and forth across the line and making sure that, like, people don't get by him. I mean, a lot of people did. But his goal is to make sure that people don't get by him. He's getting there. They were losing yesterday 4-3. And at the very end, there's about, the ref had just called, like, a couple minutes left in the game, whatever, 2 minutes left in the game. I don't know. Soccer's weird. Like, it's fun. And so the ref, says it out loud, and we had just scored. And so, the other team gets the ball, like, to do the little kicking thing. I don't know what they call any of this stuff. And so I never played soccer. And so they do, like, the little kicking thing at the beginning where they have to kick it to somebody, and our team stole it. Now, here's the thing. Let me set the stage. Like, our team that my son is on, they're all really small, scrappy little dudes. They're super quick, super fast, but they're like a newborn baby is pretty close to their height. Like, they're just not big. It's fine. They're big in heart. And so they are pretty small. This other team that came out, Rennie and I we're sitting there watching. We're like, is this like a high school team? Like, boys were all like full-grown men, like deep voices, like, hey, pass me the ball. I'm like, what is happening right now? And I'm looking at these guys. But here's the thing that I've learned over the time that I've been watching soccer happen. And I praise all of you tall people, for being tall. Woo, good for you. Here's what I know to be true, though. Like, when you're tall young, it's weird. Because, like, your legs and your body haven't quite adjusted to, like, your tallness. And so you're a little wobbly, you're a little bit like, whoa. And so the little people, myself included, we recognize this about you. And so where our little guys on our team are like, oh, like the big guys are like, and now our body goes. And so this is how they did it yesterday. It was just fascinating. Like, our little guys basically like ran through their legs and grabbed the ball. It was incredible. And they're going down. They're going down the sideline. So we've got, again, 2 minutes left. They got to score one goal. Right, I gotta backtrack, or this story's not gonna make as much sense. When they do the little starting thing, I'll figure it out one day, guys. When they do the little starting thing, we had, our coach had yelled out, like, you guys got one more goal and it's tied. And this little punk, he's very important to the story. This little punk goes, yeah, you're never gonna do that. And at that moment, I was like, I want a goal. I'm gonna go out there and play with this team and shove a goal in his face just to win. But I trusted the little guys. And so they steal the ball from the other team, and they're running down the sideline, which apparently is what you're supposed to do. In my brain, I'm like, charge the middle, but apparently you're supposed to run down the side and then do this thing called crossing. If you don't play soccer, I don't have a clue. I just hear them yell, cross it! And so apparently that means like kicking it to the middle, and then you're supposed to score. That's how the game apparently is played. And so this guy, little dude, running down the sideline, I'm like, oh boy. Like, he's going to do that thing where he kicks it in the middle and they're going to score. It's going to be incredible. And so he's just taking, well, this big kid, remember back here? Look, good luck. Okay. Big dude, biggest dude on their team, hands down, is beelining for a little guy. I don't know his name. I really only know the name of my son and the goalie, because the goalie has to save the ball about 150 times a game because our team's so bad at defense. And so he's over here doing his thing. I'm like, good job again, Jake. Like, keep it up. And so, but the little dude, I don't know his name, running down the sideline. And this guy's beelining for him. And I'm like, you watch it all unfold, and you're like, oh boy. And that game turned from soccer to football in about a second. And this dude, just clobbers little guy. Little dude goes down. He's hurting like he should be. Big dude, like when you act like you're hurt so that you don't get in as much trouble. You're like, oh no, I'm gonna hurt my leg. I'm totally fine though, because I know that I just pounded this itty bitty person. And that's exactly what happens. So little dude gets up. He's toughing it out. He's a strong little dude, big in heart. He gets up. You get like a free kick, He only yellow carded him. I think it should have been a red card, which apparently it's worse than a yellow card. So I was like, bring on the red one. And he was like, it's going to be a yellow one. I was like, okay. Guys, I just yell things, like random things I hear is how I cheer from the stands. And so they give him this yellow card, they give him a free kick. You get to kick it at the goal, right? So I'm like, all right, little guy, this is your moment. This is your time. So he's setting it up. And I'm like, oh man, if he makes this goal, I'm going to carry this kid. I'm going to carry him to his parents because that's the safe thing to do. And so other than that, I would be doing this message from prison. And so he's set back, and I'm like, come on, baby. This is your moment. He comes up. he kicks it, and that ball sails so far right of the goal, it's unbelievable. Not even close. Not even like in the proximity. I'm like, well, and then the whistle blows, and the game ends, right? But in that moment, all I wanted to do was pick that kid up by his hair and drag him to his parents and be like, either you whoop him or I am, your choice. I didn't do that, and I couldn't do that. Why? Because I know there's going to be people that are hard to love. That kid is hard to love. But my calling is not to bring the punishment to him. Vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. He'll trip one day in the hallway in front of a cute girl, and that will be good enough. I don't need to know about that. I'm praying for it, but I don't need to know about it. I do. If you guys see this kid, his name, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know his name. Here's the truth, though. In the same way that big kid came after the small kid, our society has pitted us against one another. They've created walls of division amongst us. They've created the wall of division between the wealthy and the poor, between the educated and the uneducated, between the Democrat and the Republican, between the black and the white, or you pick a color, against each other, against the vaccinated and the unvaccinated right now. And I heard this message a few weeks back, and I don't remember the pastor's name, but it started circling around, and I feel like he just nailed it on the head. He said, this is not our society doing its own thing. This is the work of the devil. Like the reason why we keep changing it. And there's this spirit of hostility that rages up within us. And we don't combat it with meditation and a good, let's just be better. We battle it with a spirit of God, and that's it. The only way you battle is not with the flesh and bone, but with spirits and principalities. So if the spirit of the enemy is creating hostility and division amongst us, why would we fight in our own strength? We fight back in the Spirit of God, saying, you will not divide us over something that is so petty. You have been created in the image of God, and I will love you because of it. And these walls of hostility, they separate us, they fragment us, they create an isolation amongst us. I have to be alone. I have to be by myself. They make us suspicious and distrustful of one another. But what we have to recognize is that generous love, true generous love, breaks down walls. Paul says it this way in Ephesians 2:16. He says, together, as one body, Christ reconciled both groups to God by means of his death on the cross. And our hostility towards each other was put to death. I'm going to read that again. Together as one body, Christ reconciled both groups to God by means of his death on the cross. And our hostility towards each other was put to death. See, love is what drives our generosity. True, generous love drives our generosity. I want to show you what this looks like, if that's okay. I invited some of our staff to come up here with me for just a few minutes. I want to show you guys what this looks like as we kind of wrap this all up. When we think about generous love, we often think, how do certain people do it and certain people not? And so that's what I want to lay out. I brought up, should be 5 of them, staff. Now, we have a pretty incredible staff, amen? And these guys put on incredible work. We're missing our worship leader. He's somewhere. So, I'm sure he's coming. Y'all are all in the message, man. I see you guys like fully, yeah. Here's the thing. Each of these four, and if Najee comes out, we'll keep going with that. There he is. Hey, all right. But Najee's routinely late. It's fine. We love him for it. Each of these 5 staff have very different backgrounds, very different life experiences, right? Like take somebody like Jonathan, who was born and raised in Seattle. And we don't hold that against him, right, church? Amen. Yeah, he got here quickly. And so Jonathan's life experiences, his perceptions, his ideas, his stereotypes, his prejudices, they are all very different than somebody like Najee, who was born and raised in Jersey and got here to Douglasville when he could. But we have the proclivity, we have the drive sometimes to look at somebody like Najee and look at somebody like Trey and go, I bet they grew up the same way. Let's just call it what it is, right? I bet these 2 guys have the same, they're both black, they got to have the same life experience. What you maybe don't know is that Trey, born in College Park, Georgia, had a very different outlook on life than Najee. And if you don't know that, ask Najee about growing up in Jersey. Whole different life. But here's the thing. Our stereotypes and our prejudices create comfort within us. And that comfort rules out knowledge and understanding of other people. We build our own perceptions of people rather than true narratives of people. I think of somebody like Kim, who maybe you guys know or don't know. Kim's pretty awesome behind the scenes. Her last name is Rodriguez, which immediately, let me just call it on you, immediately like, oh, she's probably Hispanic. No, furthest thing from it. But our presuppositions about people create the way that we think about people. Kim doesn't know any Spanish, except for what you learn on Dora. You got somebody like Alma. If you don't know Alma, oh, my heart, I just love you so much. If y'all don't know this, she has committed to be my children's grandmother while she's here because all my family and my wife's family all lives hours away. And so they come in and they say, Abuela, how are you? And she just loves them and cares for them. And just, I mean, it is beautiful. Every day they come to work with me. Is Alma here? I'm like, no, leave her alone. She has work to do too. But you look at somebody like her, born and raised in Chicago, whose family was born and raised in Mexico. And again, just in saying that, you create suppositions, ideas, mentalities about her. And let me just tell you, whatever you think you know about her life, you are wrong. Sit in her office, and I promise you, you will begin to hear the story of how God has changed her. And on the surface, we have this incredible, dynamic, diverse group of people that work on our team from different backgrounds and different education levels and different life stories and different parents, different own prejudices and walls that they've built up based on what they were taught and what they learned and what they know to be true. And here's what's crazy. That each one of these and every other person on our team is unified, fights together. And as I was thinking through, like, what is it? What's the sauce? I mean, I could probably write books on the sauce that brings teams together like our team. But the book's already been written. Like, we've already got a 66-chapter book of exactly how this works, because the beautiful thing about these 5 is they recognize something, that they are called to live behind the cross, not in front of it. Behind it. And every single one of them, regardless of how stupid my ask is of them, the request that's set out before them, how difficult or how challenging it might be, they understand that we fight here, not here. And they live in such a way that goes, I want Jesus to be seen before they ever know my name, before you ever know who I am. and they live in the confidence that they are following God's call on their life. What's the sauce? Man, the sauce is right here. This is it. You have a decision to make, a choice to make, just like they do every single day. You can pick up a cross of hostility and say, I'm going to fight against people. I'm going to fight for my own ideas and my own values and my own morals and my own ethics and my own prejudices and my own presuppositions about people. I'm going to fight so that you know how much I know. Or we step back and go, Jesus, I don't know jack squat outside of your Spirit. Give me wisdom and knowledge and understanding. That foundation, even in the midst of all of them having walls that they have built, that's why we build bridges over it. Because they don't walk on a bridge of their own self-effort, they walk on the bridge of the cross. And they say, Jesus, whatever it takes, I will follow you. And they live in that confidence. Y'all give it up for our team. Thanks, guys. There's this incredible passage that I want to wrap up with this morning. In 1 John chapter 4, John is writing to the churches in Asia Minor. And he says this is real love. This is the goods. This is what love ought to look like. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as a sacrifice to take away our sins. Dear friends, since God loved us that much, we surely ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but, and I love this, if we love each other, God lives in us, and his love is brought to full expression in us. See, generous love, the love that God pours out, that's what breaks down that wall of hostility. Generous love, the love that allows us to reflect the sacrifice that Jesus made. See, none of us are better than the other one. Romans 3:23, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. When you ask the question, what about the person who doesn't deserve my love? You didn't deserve the love of God. And yet he stepped down. Romans 5:8, God demonstrated his love towards us in this, that while we were still sinning, Jesus died for us. Love displays Jesus to the world. He allows us to be vessels of his love and kindness and unity to the world. If we tap in to understanding what the Spirit of God is calling us to do. The call of Christ in our lives is to generously give the love that he imparted to us to the world. That's our calling. The love that he so richly gave to you, he's calling you to give to somebody else. Bottom line is this, that being generous brings people together. When we display the generous love of God to others, we're able to break down walls and barriers that divide us. We are able in turn to display his love to a hurting and broken world. The question is, which spirit are you going to live in? Which wall are you going to build? Are you going to continue to build the wall of hostility and prejudice and anger and distrust? Or are you going to say, Jesus, I have all of that. I need you to break it all down. I need your Spirit to do the work. Remember Ephesians, he was the one who broke down the walls. He's the one who brings peace. He's the one who brings unity. If we want to see our world change forever, it will not be on the backs of your good deeds. It will be on the love of Jesus and Jesus alone. So I want to invite you this morning. Maybe this morning you need to come and pray, God, break down the walls that I've built up over years of believing lies and deceptions. God, break down the wall of hostility and replace it with a wall of grace and peace and love that can only come from your Spirit. What is it this morning that you need to beg God to forgive you for? For you this morning, maybe it's coming down and going, God, I have lived apart from your will for this long, doing what I thought was best, and now I want to step back and say, God, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Maybe you need to start by a relationship with Jesus. If your struggle this morning is, I can't love people well, let me tell you, it's because you don't have the love of God. Because it says in 1 John, if you go back a little bit further, it says that we will display the love of God because we reflect God, because God is love. And we are called to be love to a hurting and broken world. So if this morning you're struggling, go, God, cleanse out the hate and disdain within me and replace it with love. Replace it with you and not me. I don't know where you are this morning. Maybe you need to come down and just pray for healing. Maybe you need to come down and pray for somebody specifically this morning. Maybe you need to go and get right with somebody in this room this morning. I don't know what it is for you, but here's what I do know. That God is speaking. And our call as his people is to say, speak, your servant listens. Will you listen today? Will you respond to his calling today? Let's pray. Jesus, thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given us to come, to love on one another, to carry your love to the world. I pray, Jesus, right now for every person that sits in this room, that's sitting online, God, that we are struggling and battling every single day to see the incredible truth that you have called us to love people that we don't necessarily want to love. I pray, God, that you would break down the walls and the barriers that have divided us, that have separated us, and God, that we would replace those barriers and walls with your love and your grace and your peace and your unity, that God, we would seek out other people who don't look like us, act like us, think like us, and seek to know and be known. I pray, God, this morning for those who are harboring bitterness and anger and rage and whatever else. Jesus, will you get rid of it? I rebuke that spirit in this room this morning in the name of Jesus. And I call on the spirit of love and unity and peace and patience and kindness. Jesus, fill this room with believers who come out of this room different because they've been filled with the love of Jesus this morning. I pray right now, God, that you would do a work. Start it within us because you are the one who will do it, not us. You are the one who has called us according to your purpose to do incredible good deeds. And I pray that we would not lose sight of the fact that it's for your purpose and not ours. It's for your calling and not ours. And I pray, God, that your spirit would move right now in a mighty way. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.